Beloved, understand this truth. Life is governed by doors. Doors into favor, doors into elevation, doors into marriage, doors into impact, doors into relevance, doors into destiny. And just as there are doors ordained by God, there are forces that resist men from entering them. Many are gifted, many are prayerful, many are diligent, yet they stand before closed doors, wondering why effort has not translated into access. Tonight, this Friday, the 16th of January, we are not gathering in desperation. We are standing in revelation. Because when understanding rises, captivity ends. Closed doors do not open because of noise. They open because of authority. And authority flows from alignment. Lift your heart, not just your voice. Understand this truth deeply and never forget it. Doors in the spirit do not respond to strength, connections, intelligence, or persistence alone. They respond to authority. Many people struggle not because they lack effort, but because they are engaging life from a position of weakness rather than from a position of spiritual legality. You can cry, you can fast, you can knock endlessly. Yet if you do not stand in authority, the door remains unmoved. Authority is what gives your voice weight in the realm of outcomes. Authority is not noise. Authority is alignment with divine order. When a man speaks from alignment, creation listens. When alignment is absent, even sincere prayers become emotional expressions without results. This is why two people can pray the same prayer, use the same words, and yet experience completely different outcomes. One is speaking from desire, the other is speaking from delegated power. Heaven does not respond to need. Heaven responds to order. You must understand that every closed door is not a problem of resistance. Many times it is a problem of jurisdiction. In the spirit realm, nothing moves illegally. Every door has a gatekeeper, and every gatekeeper responds only to recognized authority. This is why effort without revelation leads to frustration. You can be gifted and still be denied access. You can be anointed and still wait at the gate if you do not understand how authority functions. Authority is derived, not self-generated. No one carries authority because they want to. Authority is bestowed based on assignment and alignment. When you step out of alignment, you step out of authority, and when authority is lost, even legitimate doors will reject you. This is why obedience is not a suggestion, it is a spiritual requirement for access. Disobedience weakens spiritual weight. It does not remove your calling, but it delays its manifestation. There are doors that mock effort. The harder you try, the more they resist, because they were never designed to respond to human energy. They were designed to respond to spiritual command. And spiritual command only comes when heaven recognizes your voice. Heaven recognizes your voice when your life agrees with your prayer. This is a painful truth, but it is a liberating one. God is not withholding doors, He is preserving order. Many believers speak passionately but lack precision. Authority does not shout. Authority speaks and expects compliance. When you see men and women who access favor effortlessly, it is not because they are lucky. It is because they have learned how to stand in spiritual legality. They do not beg doors. They arrive carrying credentials from heaven. Every time a door refuses to open, the question is not, why is this door stubborn? The real question is, do I have the authority to enter? Authority is built in secret before it is manifested in public. It is forged in obedience, in submission, in alignment with divine principles. This is why private victories always precede public access. If you neglect the secret place, you will struggle at the gate. You must also understand that authority is recognized by resistance. When darkness resists you, it is acknowledging your potential threat. However, resistance will not bow to potential. It bows only to active authority. Potential threatens the enemy, but authority displaces him. This is why many people are opposed but not elevated. They are feared, but they are not granted access. Fear alone does not open doors, authority does. There is a dimension where prayer stops being a request and becomes an enforcement. In that realm, you are not asking God to act, you are acting on God's word. This is where closed doors begin to tremble. But that realm is not entered through emotion, it is entered through understanding. Understanding is what transforms prayer from hope into command. If you do not grow in understanding, you will keep asking God to do what he has already authorized you to enforce. Many doors remain closed because believers keep praying for permission instead of exercising authority. Heaven is waiting for alignment, not persuasion. God is not convinced by tears, he is honored by order. This is why spiritual maturity is dangerous to stagnation. When a man grows in understanding, he becomes a walking key. He does not just knock, he unlocks. And when doors open in response to authority, they do not open partially, they open completely. No struggle, no resistance, no delay. When you carry authority, even rejection becomes redirection. Closed doors lose their power to frustrate you because you understand that access is governed. You stop chasing doors and doors begin to recognize you. This is the highest dimension of victory. Not when every door is open, but when no closed door can stop you from destiny. So hear this and settle it in your spirit. Effort may attract attention, but authority guarantees access. If you want doors to open consistently, do not just pray harder, align deeper. Because in the kingdom, doors do not open for the loudest voice, they open for the authorized one. You must come to terms with this truth if you are to walk in peace and endurance. Delays are not always rejections. Many times, delays are divine invitations to alignment. What frustrates people is not the waiting itself, but the interpretation of the waiting. When the mind labels delay as denial, hope begins to die. But when delay is understood as process, strength is preserved. God does not waste time and he does not toy with destinies. If something is delayed, it is because something must be adjusted. There is a timing to everything in the spirit, and timing is not emotional, it is governmental. Heaven operates by seasons, not by urgency. Urgency belongs to men, seasons belong to God. This is why impatience has destroyed more destinies than opposition. Many doors did not remain closed because of demons or men. They closed because someone arrived before they were qualified to remain inside. Alignment protects you from premature access. You must understand that God is more interested in who you become than what you receive. Receiving without becoming is dangerous. If you are given what your character cannot sustain, it will eventually become a burden rather than a blessing. This is why God uses delays to shape capacity. He is not saying no, he is saying not yet, because something in you must grow. Delays expose the areas of misalignment in a believer's life. When things don't move as expected, your reactions reveal what needs correction. Some discover impatience, others discover pride, fear, or hidden dependence on people rather than on God. Alignment is not punishment. It is preparation. Every delay is a mirror, and only the humble are willing to look into it honestly. There are seasons when God slows you down intentionally so he can save you from future regret. Many prayers are answered in the form of restraint. You are asking to move forward, but God was protecting you from entering a space that would have damaged you. In hindsight, what you once called delay becomes mercy. But mercy is rarely comfortable in the moment. Alignment also means that your desires must agree with divine purpose. Sometimes the delay is not about you. It is about the people and stems connected to your destiny. God is aligning helpers, environments, and conditions. If he brings you into a door too early, you may misuse relationships, mishandle influence, or misunderstand responsibility. Destiny is interconnected and alignment must be corporate, not just personal. Many believers pray for speed without praying for accuracy. Speed without alignment leads to crashes. God values precision more than pace. He would rather take you slowly and safely than quickly and destructively. This is why those who wait well often last longer. Delays refine vision. They remove fantasy and replace it with clarity. You must also understand that alignment requires surrender. You cannot align with God while insisting on control. Delays break self-will. They teach you to trust divine wisdom over personal preference. This is painful because it strips you of the illusion of independence. But alignment is impossible without submission. The greatest breakthroughs come to those who learn how to yield. In seasons of delay, heaven is not silent. It is instructive. God speaks most clearly when progress seems slow. If you rush through delay, you will miss the instructions meant to sustain you in the next level. Many people reach the door but do not know how to stay because they ignored the lessons of waiting. Alignment teaches you stewardship before promotion. There is also the alignment of motives. God examines why you want what you are asking for. Some delays exist because the desire is right, but the motive is wrong. God will not empower ego, pride, or revenge. When motives are purified, doors open naturally. What once resisted you begins to welcome you. Delays also build spiritual stamina. Without stamina, success becomes overwhelming. This is why sudden breakthroughs destroy some people emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Delay strengthens your inner structure. It teaches you how to stand when applause comes and how to remain grounded when pressure increases. When you understand alignment, you stop fighting delays. You begin to cooperate with them. You ask better questions. Instead of why is this not happening, you ask what must change in me for this to happen rightly. This mindset transforms waiting from suffering into preparation. One of the greatest signs of maturity is the ability to trust God's timing without resentment. When alignment is complete, delays lose their power. Doors open smoothly because nothing is out of place. No unnecessary battles, no avoidable losses, just precision. So settle this in your heart. Delay is not denial. Delay is divine calibration. When alignment is complete, acceleration is inevitable. God may take time, but he never arrives late. When the door opens, you will realize it opened at the only time it could open without destroying you. There is a dimension of prayer many never enter because they misunderstand its purpose. Prayer was never designed to be a religious routine or an emotional escape. Prayer is a legal engagement. When you pray, you are not trying to convince God to act. You are standing in agreement with what he has already spoken and enforcing it in the earth. Begging assumes reluctance on God's part. Authority assumes alignment with his will. Heaven does not need persuasion, needs partnership. When prayer is reduced to desperation, it loses its power. Desperation speaks from fear, but authority speaks from confidence. Fear says, what if this never works? Authority says, this must work because it aligns with divine order. Many believers pray as victims, not as representatives. They approach God as though he is withholding answers, not realizing that he has already released provision and is waiting for enforcement. The strength of prayer is not volume, it is legality. In any lawful system, outcomes are determined by rights, not emotions. The spiritual realm is no different. When you pray from a position of right standing, your words carry weight. When you pray without understanding your position, you sound sincere but powerless. This is why spiritual authority must be understood before it can be exercised. Prayer becomes enforcement when you know what belongs to you. Ignorance weakens prayer. You cannot enforce what you do not know. Many people pray vaguely because they think spirituality is about mystery, but power flows from clarity. The clearer your understanding, the stronger your command. Heaven honors informed believers. There is also the issue of alignment with the word. authority in prayer is never independent of truth. You do not command based on desire, you command based on revelation. When your prayer is rooted in truth, it carries divine backing. When it is rooted in emotion alone, it lacks authorization. This is why effective prayer begins with listening. You must hear before you speak. Begging keeps you in a posture of inferiority. Enforcement places you in a posture of representation. You are not speaking as an individual with needs. You are speaking as an ambassador with jurisdiction. This changes the tone of prayer. Instead of pleading for outcomes, you declare realities. Instead of asking if God will move, you affirm what he has already moved. Many believers are uncomfortable with authoritative prayer because they confuse humility with passivity. True humility is not silence, it is obedience. Humility does not deny authority, it submits authority to divine will. When God grants authority, refusing to exercise it is not humility, it is disobedience. Heaven expects participation, not passivity. There are forces that will not move until they are confronted. Darkness respects strength, not sympathy. When prayer becomes enforcement, you stop negotiating with opposition. You issue commands that must be obeyed. This is not arrogance, it is alignment with divine protocol. Authority exercised correctly produces peace, not pride. Prayer as enforcement also requires faith that God has already spoken. Faith is not hoping God will respond. Faith is acting because he has responded. This is why enforcement prayer is confident and calm. There is no panic in authority. Panic reveals uncertainty. Confidence reveals understanding. You must also understand that enforcement is not noise. Shouting does not equal authority. Silence spoken from revelation can be more powerful than hours of emotional prayer. Authority is recognized by results, not by intensity. When you pray and nothing changes, it is not because God ignored you, it is because enforcement was missing. Another vital truth is that authority grows with responsibility. God does not entrust enforcement to careless people. Those who refuse discipline cannot sustain an authority. Prayer that enforces divine verdicts comes from lives that respect divine order. This is why obedience strengthens prayer. Disobedience weakens it. When you begin to pray as one who enforces, your relationship with God matures. You stop seeing him as distant and start seeing him as a partner. Prayer becomes collaboration, not conversation. You move from asking for permission to executing instruction. This is a higher realm of intimacy and power. Enforcement also requires persistence, not repetition. You do not keep begging for the same thing. You stand until what you declared manifests. Persistence is not saying the same prayer endlessly. It is maintaining faith until the result appears. This posture intimidates opposition because it reflects certainty. Many testimonies are delayed because believers stop at asking. They never cross into declaring. Asking invites attention. Declaring establishes order. When you declare in alignment with God's will, the atmosphere adjusts. Circumstances rearrange. Doors respond. So settle this in your spirit. Prayer is not begging God to do something he is unwilling to do. Prayer is enforcing what God has already decided. When you pray from that understanding, you will no longer measure prayer by how emotional it feels, but by how effectively it produces change. And when prayer becomes enforcement, closed doors lose their power, resistance collapses, and destiny moves forward with authority. There is a law in the spirit that may any ignore, yet it governs access, progress, and manifestation. Doors close when purpose is ignored, and doors open when destiny is engaged. This is not punishment, it is alignment. God does not open doors randomly. He opens doors that lead men into purpose. When a person lives disconnected from assignment, even legitimate opportunities lose their power to respond. Many people pray for open doors without asking what those doors are meant to serve. Every door has a reason, and that reason is always bigger than personal comfort. When purpose is unclear, access becomes restricted. This is why some people move from opportunity to opportunity but never settle into fulfillment. They keep entering doors that were not designed for their destiny. Purpose gives direction to favor. Without purpose, favor becomes wasteful. God will not sponsor confusion when your life lacks clarity of assignment. Heaven withholds certain doors, not out of cruelty, but out of wisdom. An open door in the wrong direction is more dangerous than a closed door in the right one. Ignoring purpose weakens spiritual authority. When you are not aligned with what you were created to do, your voice loses weight in the realm of outcomes. Destiny is what gives legitimacy to your access. This is why some people have talent but lack impact. Talent opens doors temporarily, but destiny keeps them open permanently. Engaging destiny is not about ambition, it is about obedience. Destiny is discovered, not invented. Why? You begin to walk in obedience to divine direction. Doors begin to recognize you. Opportunities start aligning naturally. What once required struggle now responds effortlessly. This is because heaven supports purpose, not ego. There are doors that will never open no matter how hard you pray, because they are not connected to your assignment. Praying for them only increases frustration. Wisdom is knowing which doors to stop knocking on. Purpose brings discernment. It teaches you when to persist and when to move on. Closed doors often reveal misplaced focus. When destiny is ignored, life becomes noisy but unproductive. You stay busy but unfulfilled. Many people confuse activity with progress, but movement without purpose leads to exhaustion. This is why restlessness increases when purpose is neglected. Your spirit knows when it is off course. Engaging destiny requires courage. Purpose often demands sacrifice. It may require letting go of what is familiar for what is meaningful. Many doors remain closed because people refuse the cost of purpose. They want access without responsibility. But destiny always demands alignment before access. When you align with purpose, even resistance becomes productive. Challenges no longer discourage you, they refine you. Opposition becomes confirmation that you are on the right path. Purpose transforms pain into training. What once felt like rejection now feels like redirection. Destiny also determines timing. There are seasons when certain us must remain closed because the purpose they lead to is not yet mature. If God opens them too early, you may misuse them. Purpose protects you from premature exposure. This is why clarity precedes acceleration. When destiny is engaged, doors open beyond your qualifications. God creates access that skill alone could not produce. This is not favoritism, it is alignment. Heaven invests in what will bring lasting impact. Purpose attracts divine resources. Another powerful truth is that destiny attracts helpers. When you walk in purpose, the right people recognize you. Relationships align naturally. Struggle in relationships is often a sign of misaligned purpose. When destiny is engaged, connection becomes effortless. Ignoring purpose also invites unnecessary warfare. You fight battles you were never assigned to fight. But when you walk in destiny, God fights for you. Purpose carries divine defense. Closed doors that once frustrated you now make sense. They were shielding you from distractions. Engaging destiny does not mean life becomes easy. It means life becomes meaningful. Doors will still challenge you, but they will no longer confuse you. You will know why you are entering them and what you are meant to do inside. So understand this and settle it deeply. Doors respond to destiny. When purpose is ignored, doors close to protect you. When destiny is engaged, doors open to advance you. Stop praying for random access and start aligning with divine assignment. When your Ife agrees with purpose, access becomes natural, favor becomes intentional, and doors open not because you force them, but because they recognize who you are becoming. Light is not an abstract concept. Light is truth made visible. And wherever light appears, darkness loses its authority to remain. Darkness does not need to be fought, it needs to be exposed. This is why battles that are fought without understanding often last longer than necessary. You cannot defeat what you do not discern. The moment light enters a situation, confusion begins to dissolve, fear weakens, and resistance starts to collapse. Darkness survives on ignorance. Its greatest strength is secrecy. When truth is absent, darkness gains permission to operate unchecked. This is why many people remain trapped, not because the problem is powerful, but because the truth has not yet been revealed. Exposure is deliverance. When truth comes, chains break without struggle. Light does not argue with darkness. Light does not negotiate. Light simply appears and darkness withdraws. This is a fundamental law of existence. Darkness has no substance of its own. It is merely the absence of light. Therefore, the solution to darkness is never aggression. It is illumination. When truth is spoken, reality is forced to adjust. Many believers attempt to confront darkness emotionally using fear, anger, or frustration, but emotions do not carry authority. Truth does. Light carries certainty. When you speak truth, you are not expressing an opinion. You are declaring a reality that creation must align with. This is why words spoken from revelation carry creative power. Light reveals not only the presence of darkness, but also the pathways out of it. Without light, people stumble even when the exit is near. Many closed doors exist not because access is denied, but because direction is unclear. Light brings clarity. Clarity restores movement. Movement restores hope. Truth spoken in faith does more than inform. It transforms. It redefines identity. Darkness tells people who they are not. Light reminds them of who they truly are. Many limitations persist because false narratives have been accepted as truth. The moment truth replaces lies, internal prisons collapse. Light also exposes false resistance. Some obstacles appear formidable only because they have not been examined in truth. When light shines, what once looked like a wall is revealed to be a shadow. Fear magnifies darkness. Understanding shrinks it. This is why teaching is warfare. Truth is a weapon. Darkness cannot withstand consistency of light. A moment of illumination may shock darkness, but sustained truth dismantles it completely. This is why growth in understanding leads to lasting freedom. Temporary excitement fades, but truth anchors deliverance. When people return to darkness, it is usually because light was not sustained. Speaking truth is an act of authority. You are not describing circumstances, you are redefining them. Who declare truth over your life, you are aligning yourself with divine reality. Circumstances may resist temporarily, but they must eventually conform. Light always wins because it represents order. Light also brings responsibility. Once truth is revealed, ignorance is no longer an excuse. This is why some resist light. They fear accountability. Darkness offers comfort without growth. Light demands transformation. But only light leads to freedom. Comfort in darkness is still captivity. Many doors remain closed because truth has not yet been spoken into the situation. Silence allows darkness to remain unchallenged. When truth is declared, the atmosphere shifts. Words filled with understanding carry authority. This is why declarations matter. What you consistently say shapes what you experience. Light exposes wrong alignments. Sometimes darkness is not an external force, but an internal compromise. Truth reveals areas of disobedience, wrong motives, and misplaced priorities. This exposure is not condemnation, it is correction. Light does not shame, it heals. When light enters, even pain gains meaning. Suffering without understanding produces bitterness. Suffering with understanding produces wisdom. Light reframes experiences. It shows you that what you thought was destruction was actually refinement. Darkness makes pain meaningless. Light gives it purpose. Truth spoken in love has transformative power. It breaks generational patterns. It interrupts cycles of defeat. It reprograms thinking. When minds change, lives follow. This is why renewal of the mind is spiritual warfare. Darkness attacks thoughts, light restores them. So settle this truth firmly. Darkness has no power of its own. Its only advantage is the absence of light. When truth is spoken and received, darkness must retreat. Not gradually, not eventually, but immediately in principle and inevitably in manifestation. Speak truth, walk in understanding, maintain light, and you will discover that no darkness, no confusion, and no closed door can withstand the power of revealed truth. Spiritual keys are not mystical objects reserved for a few. They are revelations entrusted to those who are willing to understand. A key represents access, and access is never accidental. Many people desire doors to open, yet few commit to learning how doors are governed. Understanding is what turns desire into access. Emotion may move you to pray, but understanding positions you to enter. You must recognize that the spirit realm is intelligent and orderly. Nothing opens because someone is desperate. Things open because someone is authorized. That authorization comes through understanding. This is why two people can experience the same situation, yet one finds access while the other remains locked out. The difference is not favor alone, it is knowledge applied. Understanding gives definition to faith. Faith without understanding becomes blind optimism. It hopes without structure. But when understanding is present, faith becomes precise. You know what to believe for, how to engage it, and when to stand firm. Precision intimidates resistance. Confusion empowers it. Spiritual keys are revealed progressively. God does not release understanding to impress people. He releases it to prepare them. Each level of understanding carries responsibility. This is why revelation grows with obedience. When you act on what you know, more is revealed. When you ignore what you know, access stagnates. Emotion can ignite passion, but it cannot sustain access. Many people encounter temporary breakthroughs driven by excitement, only to lose ground because understanding was absent. What emotion opens temporarily, only understanding can keep open permanently. Stability is a product of revelation. Understanding also protects you from manipulation. In the absence of understanding, people depend on personalities instead of principles. They look for someone to open doors for them rather than learning how doors work. This creates spiritual dependence and frustration. True growth happens when understanding replaces reliance on others. Keys function by specificity. A key opens a particular door, not every door. Understanding teaches discernment. It shows you which doors belong to you and which ones do not. Without understanding, people waste years forcing doors that were never assigned to them. Wisdom saves time. Understanding preserves energy. There are truths that once understood permanently change your spiritual posture. You no longer panic in adversity because you recognize patterns. You no longer envy others' access because you understand process. You no longer interpret silence as abandonment because you understand timing. Understanding brings peace because it replaces guesswork with clarity. Many spiritual battles persist because people are fighting symptoms instead of causes. Understanding exposes roots. When you address roots, fruits change naturally. This is why revelation shortens warfare. You stop wrestling blindly and start engaging accurately. Accuracy produces authority. Understanding also aligns speech. Words spoken without understanding may be sincere but ineffective. When you understand, your declarations carry direction. You stop speaking randomly and start speaking intentionally. The spirit realm responds to informed speech. Authority flows through clarity. One of the dangers of emotion-driven spirituality is inconsistency. Emotion rises and falls. Understanding remains stable. When feelings fade, understanding sustains obedience. This is why mature believers continue to advance even when prayer feels dry. They are not moved by sensation, they are anchored by revelation. Understanding does not eliminate challenges, but it reframes them. You stop asking, why is this happening? And start asking, what is this producing? This shift transforms frustration into focus. When you know what a season is meant to build, you endure it differently. Understanding gives suffering a purpose. Keys are not given to spectators, they are entrusted to stewards. Understanding teaches stewardship. You learn how to handle access without abusing it. God does not fear blessing you. He ensures you can manage what he releases. This is why understanding often precedes promotion. There are doors that only open to those who know how to remain inside. Understanding teaches maintenance. It shows you how to sustain favor, manage influence, and protect grace. Many lose access because they did not understand how to carry what they received. Revelation preserves elevation. Understanding also humbles. The more you know, the more you recognize what you don't know. This keeps you teachable. Pride resists learning, and learning resists stagnation. As long as you remain a student, access continues to expand. So settle this truth firmly. Spiritual keys are released through understanding, not emotion. Feelings may inspire you to knock, but understanding teaches you how to unlock. If you desire consistent access, commit to learning. Ask questions, seek truth, apply revelation. When understanding increases, keys multiply. And when keys multiply, doors open, not occasionally, not accidentally, but consistently and in order. What resists you today is not always your enemy. Many times, it is your protection. This truth challenges the way people interpret opposition. Human nature assumes that anything uncomfortable must be removed immediately, but wisdom understands that restraint can be a form of mercy. Not every closed door is meant to frustrate you. Some are assigned to preserve you from entering spaces that would have damaged your destiny. Many people pray against resistance without discerning its purpose. They assume every delay, denial, or obstacle is satanic, not realizing that God sometimes stands as the barrier. When God resists you, it is never to destroy you, it is to redirect you. The pain of resistance is often the price of safety. What you want urgently may be what you are not yet ready to handle responsibly. There are environments that look like opportunities but carry hidden destruction. Without resistance, you would walk into them blindly. Protection often disguises itself as inconvenience. This is why maturity is revealed by discernment, not excitement. Those who lack discernment interpret every no as rejection, while the wise interpret some no as rescue. Resistance exposes desire. When something pushes back, it reveals how much you want it and why you want it. This examination is necessary. Some desires are pure but premature. Others are sincere but misaligned. Resistance forces you to evaluate motives. Without resistance, self-deception would flourish. There are battles God allows you to lose because winning them would cost you something greater. Losing access to a door can preserve your peace, your integrity, and your future. In time, you look back and realize that what you call loss was actually preservation. But clarity often comes after obedience, not before. Resistance also slows you down so you can hear better. Speed reduces perception. When movement is restricted, awareness increases. God uses resistance to sharpen discernment. He teaches you to read signs, interpret seasons, and listen deeply. Without this pause, you would mistake noise for direction. Some resistance exists because something ahead requires more strength than you currently possess. God does not expose you to pressures that will crush you. When resistance appears, it may be an indication that your inner capacity must grow. This is not an insult, it is preparation. Pressure reveals structure. Resistance builds it. Resistance can also be a signal of misplacement. You may be trying to thrive in an environment that is not designed for you. Fish struggle on land, not because they are weak, but because they are misplaced. When you fight constantly without progress, wisdom asks whether the environment is correct. Sometimes the answer to resistance is relocation, not persistence. There are doors that must remain closed because they would distract you from what truly matters. Not every opportunity is an assignment. Some are diversions. Resistance keeps you focused. It protects your time, energy, and attention. Without it, you would be scattered and unproductive. Resistance also trains patience. Patience is not passive waiting, it is disciplined endurance. Without resistance, patience would never develop. And without patience, many blessings would destroy their recipients. Resistance builds the internal structure needed to sustain success. It is also important to recognize that resistance can be temporary. Protection does not mean permanent denial. Some doors are closed for a season and opened later with clarity. Timing transforms danger into opportunity. What would have harmed you yesterday may bless you tomorrow. Resistance buys time. However, discernment is required to know when resistance is protective and when it is oppositional. This discernment grows through intimacy with God and understanding of purpose. When you know your assignment, you can interpret resistance accurately. Without purpose, everything feels like opposition. Protection-oriented resistance often comes with peace, even if it is uncomfortable. Oppositional resistance comes with confusion and fear. Learning to read these signals is part of spiritual maturity. God communicates through circumstances as much as through words. Many testimonies are born from things that did not work out, relationships that ended, jobs that were lost, opportunities that disappeared. These often become the turning points that save lives. Resistance reroutes destiny without explanation. Trust is required. So settle this truth firmly in your spirit. What resists you today may be protecting you from destruction. Do not rush to break every barrier. Discern before you fight. Some walls are enemies, others are shields. Wisdom knows the difference. And when protection has accomplished its purpose, God himself will remove the resistance and open the door safely, clearly, and at the right time. When God opens a door, no man's system or spirit can shut it. This is one of the most liberating truths a believer can ever grasp. Yet many approach life as though success depends on human approval, timing, or circumstance. They worry about competition, opposition, and delays, not realizing that divine access is sovereign and irreversible once it has been granted. Understanding this principle transforms your perspective on every closed door, every obstacle, and every opposition you face. Doors in life are metaphors for opportunities, relationships, breakthroughs, and destiny assignments. Some doors appear ordinary, some seem monumental, but the principle is the same. When God ordains access, it cannot be denied. The problem is that most people operate in fear and doubt, believing that every closed door represents a permanent barrier. They knock, plead, and sometimes even force entry, only to find that struggle is unnecessary when divine authorization is involved. Divine doors are different from human opportunities. A human opportunity may be affected by policies, people's opinions, or unforeseen circumstances. A door ordained by God is governed by law, not chance. It is not contingent upon your connections, your skill, or your network. When God opens it, it carries his signature. Human resistance, obstacles, and setbacks may slow the process temporarily, but they cannot prevent what is already decreed from manifesting. The moment heaven opens access, earthly limitations are rendered powerless. The permanence of God-opened doors also shifts the believer's focus from anxiety to obedience. Many people waste years worrying about competition or fearing failure, not realizing that their effort should be spent aligning with God's will. When a divine door opens, the key responsibility is stewardship, not fear. You are called to enter with faith, integrity, and preparedness. Opposition may still exist outside, but inside, God's authority reigns. This is why preparation is critical. Opportunity without readiness may be wasted, but when readiness meets God's open door, multiplication occurs. God's doors are not random, they are purposeful. They open precisely where and when destiny requires them to. This is why timing is a sin. Ralph factor in spiritual access. A door that opens too early can destroy you. A door that opens at the wrong moment can confuse you or misalign you from purpose. But when the season is perfect and the door is God ordained, no external force can delay it. Resistance may delay arrival, but it cannot reverse authorization. Understanding this protects believers from panic when doors remain temporarily closed and builds confidence when they finally swing open. Another vital aspect of God-opened doors is the principle of unassailable favor. When a door is opened by divine decree, the forces of limitation, competition, skepticism, spiritual attack, or human jealousy cannot overturn it. This is why biblical narratives repeatedly emphasize that God's plans are unstoppable. From Joseph in prison to Esther in the palace, from David before Goliath to Peter walking out of prison, the common thread is clear. Divine authorization supersedes all human interference. When heaven decides, earthly limitations are irrelevant. The door is open and nothing can reverse it. Believers often fail to grasp this because they confuse doors with results. A door can be open, yet if the person lacks wisdom, courage, or discernment, they may fail to enter properly. Divine authorization does not guarantee misuse of access, but it guarantees opportunity for impact. When God opens a door, it aligns circumstances, supports systems, and often even divine timing to ensure that what should be accomplished is complete. Opposition may arise, but it will only refine, not deny the outcome. Understanding this truth also instills fearlessness. Many live in hesitation, worried that once they step forward, they will be blocked or rejected. Fear diminishes action, delays destiny, and wastes time. When you know that God has opened the door, fear loses its grip. You move confidently because you operate in assurance rather than speculation. Nothing human can supersede divine authorization. This awareness allows you to walk boldly, speak confidently, and act decisively. Hesitation is replaced with faith-driven initiative. The permanence of God-opened doors teaches patience and trust. Just because the door is open in heaven does not always mean immediate manifestation on earth. Sometimes the physical alignment is still in progress. Systems must adjust, people must act, and environments must shift. But the crucial truth is that no closed hand, no opposing voice, and no spiritual force can ultimately shut what God has opened. The inevitability of divine doors brings peace to the heart, courage to the spirit, and persistence in action. When you combine readiness, obedience, and faith with divine authorization, doors that once seemed impenetrable swing wide open and resistance becomes irrelevant. So settle this in your spirit. When God opens a door, it is irreversible. Men cannot oppose it. Spirits cannot prevent it, and systems cannot delay its final outcome indefinitely. Opposition may challenge you temporarily. Delays may test your patience, but destiny cannot be stopped. Divine authorization ensures access, favor, and opportunity. Step through with confidence, embrace the responsibility, and understand that your breakthrough is inevitable. When heaven acts, nothing on earth has the power to negate it. The life of a believer is governed by principles that transcend human effort, timing, and understanding. Closed doors are not always denials. Delays are not always disappointments, and resistance is not always opposition. Every circumstance is an opportunity for alignment, revelation, and preparation. When prayer is anchored in authority, understanding, and purpose, it transforms from pleading into enforcement, commanding doors to open in accordance with divine law. Your breakthrough is not dependent on luck, chance, or human favor. It is dependent on your alignment with God's will, your grasp of spiritual truths, and your readiness to act when the door is opened. Every closed door is an invitation to grow. Every delay a call to mature, and every challenge a lesson in perseverance and discernment. When light illuminates your path, truth empowers your voice, and divine keys unlock access, resistance loses its power, and destiny becomes inevitable. Remember this: when God opens a door, no one and nothing can shut it. The doors of opportunity, favor, breakthrough, and destiny that He ordains are irreversible. Your responsibility is to recognize the door, walk boldly through it, and steward the access wisely. Trust in the process, embrace alignment, and remain persistent in prayer, understanding that every closed door, every obstacle, and every season of waiting serves a greater purpose in your life. Step into your destiny with faith, courage, and confidence, knowing that what God has opened will not fail, and what is assigned to you will find its way. The doors of your life are ready to swing open. Walk through them with expectation, gratitude, and unwavering trust. Amen.